What would you do if you were publicly humiliated in front of millions? Could you stay composed if the person you trusted most took part in the mockery? At the Grammy Awards, Jennifer Lopez found herself at the center of an unexpected storm when the host mocked her during the live ceremony. What started as a playful moment quickly turned uncomfortable, but just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Ben Affleck stepped in with a shocking move that no one saw coming. Stay tuned to find out how he completely changed the atmosphere and left everyone in awe. Don't forget to subscribe for more surprising stories like this one, and let us know your thoughts on what happened. Do you think Ben Affleck did the right thing? Share your comments below. The night of the Grammy Awards was supposed to be a glamorous celebration of music, talent, and achievement. Los Angeles sparkled under a clear, starry sky, the city streets humming with excitement as the famous Hollywood red carpet came alive with A-list celebrities. The event was held at the Staples Center, a symbol of both athletic prowess and Hollywood's allure. Cameras flashed, reporters yelled questions, and fans gathered, hoping for a glimpse of their favorite stars. Jennifer Lopez, dressed in a dazzling gown that shimmered under the lights, was the center of attention, as always. The air was thick with anticipation, as she was nominated for one of the night's top awards. But no one could have predicted what would unfold when the ceremony began. As the host of the evening, a popular comedian known for his quick wit and sharp humor, took the stage, the crowd expected playful jokes and harmless jabs. But when it came to Jennifer Lopez, the tone of the night shifted. With a grin, the host made a sarcastic comment about Lopez's appearance, poking fun at her age and her seemingly flawless beauty. The audience chuckled, but a sense of discomfort began to spread through the room. Lopez, who had always handled the spotlight with grace, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She was no stranger to public scrutiny, especially as a woman of color in the entertainment industry, but tonight, the mocking tone felt more personal. The laughter of the crowd rang in her ears, but she didn't respond, choosing instead to force a smile. The camera zoomed in on Lopez, capturing the strained expression on her face, and viewers at home could feel the awkwardness that filled the air. It wasn't just a harmless joke, it was an attack on her worth, her identity, and her place in the industry. The host continued, not realizing that his comments were crossing the line. As a woman of Latin descent, Jennifer had fought her entire career against stereotypes, working twice as hard to be recognized in a world that often overlooked women of color. The audience's laughter felt like a reminder of how far society still had to go in embracing diversity without judgment. But just as the tension reached its peak, something unexpected happened. Ben Affleck, sitting right next to Lopez, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing in a way that made the room fall silent. He was done watching. In a swift and surprising moment, he stood up and approached the host, his voice cutting through the tension. What followed would completely change the dynamics of the evening and leave everyone stunned. Ben Affleck's unexpected move stunned everyone in the room. As the comedian continued his mockery, Ben stood up with an uncharacteristic seriousness that drew immediate attention. The lights from the cameras flashed on him, and whispers spread through the crowd, unsure of what would come next. With his expression set in a determined frown, he walked directly to the stage, cutting through the crowd. It was almost as if time had slowed down. His every step seemed deliberate, his movements steady and sure. Lopez, who had been holding her composure with a tight smile, could only watch as her partner made his way toward the host. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. The audience held its collective breath. The host, initially laughing at his own remarks, stopped mid-sentence, confused and somewhat startled by the sudden interruption. Ben's usual relaxed demeanor was gone. His face, usually filled with jokes and charm, now showed a rare intensity, and the smile he had flashed when entering the ceremony was nowhere to be seen. People in the crowd murmured, wondering if this was part of the show or if something serious was happening. The host, realizing he was no longer in control of the situation, tried to cover his tracks by laughing awkwardly and making a comment about how tough the industry was on women. But Ben wasn't buying it. He stood still for a moment, letting the awkward silence settle in. He had heard enough. The subtle mockery that had been thrown at Jennifer Lopez, a Latina woman who had worked her entire life to be recognized on her own terms, couldn't be ignored any longer. In front of the entire room, Ben Affleck calmly addressed the host, his voice low but clear, ensuring every word hit its mark. "You think it's funny to tear down people who've worked their entire lives to achieve greatness?" he asked, his tone laced with a mix of anger and disappointment. "You think making jokes at someone's expense is part of the humor tonight? How about showing some respect for the people who've paved the way for all of us?" His words weren't just about defending Lopez, they were a broader statement about how society treated women, particularly women of color, in the entertainment industry. Lopez had been the subject of unfair scrutiny for years, facing not only the usual pressures of celebrity, but also the added weight of being a Latina in a predominantly white and male-dominated industry. Ben's stand in that moment was not just about a couple of sarcastic jokes. It was about addressing the systemic inequality that women like Jennifer Lopez often faced in the public eye. The reality of Hollywood, with its complex layers of power, gender, and race, was suddenly exposed for everyone to see. Ben wasn't just defending his partner. He was calling out an entire industry that made it far too easy for people to ridicule and dismiss successful women based on outdated stereotypes. The host stammered, clearly taken aback by the confrontation. For a brief moment, there was a tense silence before the room erupted in a mix of applause and gasps. Some people were shocked, some were embarrassed by the awkwardness of the situation, but all of them could sense the shift. Ben's interruption had stopped the show, but it also made a powerful statement about standing up for what was right. For Jennifer Lopez, who had remained silent up until that point, it was a moment of validation. Finally, someone had stood up for her, not just as a celebrity, but as a woman who had long been misunderstood and underestimated. Lopez's eyes locked with Ben's across the room, her expression softening as she recognized the weight of his actions. For years, she had been forced to smile through the criticism, trying to rise above the harsh comments that followed her wherever she went. But tonight, in front of the world, Ben had done what she couldn't do alone. He had fought back against the ridicule, ensuring that she wasn't the only one taking the hits. Their partnership, built on mutual respect and understanding, had reached new heights. The crowd's reaction to Ben's words wasn't just about his defense of Jennifer Lopez. It was a reminder of the power of speaking out, especially when the voices of those who are often overlooked are finally heard. But the impact of that moment extended beyond the Grammy Awards ceremony. People watching at home, especially women and people of color, felt a sense of empowerment. In a world where celebrity culture often perpetuates harmful stereotypes, Ben Affleck's actions became a symbol of allyship. It was a small but significant moment that reminded everyone that sometimes the most shocking moments aren't about grand gestures. They're about standing up for what's right in the face of a culture that still has so much progress to make. In that instant, Jennifer Lopez was not just a superstar on stage. She was a symbol of resilience, and Ben's actions showed that even in the entertainment world, allies could make a difference. As Ben Affleck stood there on the stage, the weight of his words hung in the air like an unspoken truth. The host, now visibly rattled, struggled to find his footing. He was no longer the center of attention. All eyes had shifted to Ben, whose calm but firm stance contrasted sharply with the chaos that had erupted around him. The Grammy Awards, a celebration of music and achievement, had become the backdrop for a larger conversation about respect, equality, and the treatment of women in the public eye. Ben's decision to step in wasn't just about defending Jennifer Lopez in that moment. It was about challenging the very system that allowed such behavior to go unchecked. The crowd, which had initially been uncertain of what was happening, began to applaud, slowly at first, but then with increasing volume. It was as if Ben had given them permission to stand up against the injustice they had witnessed. This wasn't just a moment for celebrities, it was a moment for everyone who had ever felt belittled or dismissed because of their gender, race, or background. Jennifer Lopez, who had been sitting quietly beside Ben throughout the whole ordeal, finally allowed herself to breathe a little easier. It had been an uncomfortable and familiar feeling, being in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. Over the years, she had grown used to the harsh scrutiny, the criticisms of her looks, her relationships, and her career choices. People had often dismissed her as nothing more than a pop star or a dancer, never fully recognizing her talents and the hard work she had put into becoming the powerhouse she was today. She had spent years proving herself in an industry that constantly tried to pigeonhole her, but moments like this reminded her that the battle wasn't over. The fight for respect, both personally and professionally, was ongoing. And tonight, Ben's support wasn't just about making a statement. It was a reminder that she didn't have to fight alone. But it was more than just one comedian's comment. What Ben had called out wasn't an isolated incident. It was a reflection of the broader culture of the entertainment industry. Hollywood, for all its glitz and glamour, had long struggled with issues of race, gender, and power. For Jennifer Lopez, who had fought to break barriers as a Latina woman in a field dominated by white men, the Grammy Awards should have been a celebration of her success. Yet, it was clear that even in 2023, women of color were still being treated differently. The jokes about her age, her appearance, and her place in the entertainment world were symptomatic of a society that often discounted women for simply aging, for being ambitious, or for daring to take up space. Ben's interruption not only called out the host but also questioned the larger systemic issue of how women, especially women of color, were treated in the public sphere. As the night continued, the energy in the room slowly shifted. The Grammy Awards, once filled with tension, seemed to take on a more meaningful tone. What had started as a playful event had transformed into a moment of reckoning. The music industry, like so many other sectors, had been plagued by inequality and discrimination. But now, with the camera's lens on the stage, a new conversation was taking place. People were starting to realize that the true measure of a person's success wasn't just about how much they could endure. It was about how they were treated, respected, and valued for their contributions. Jennifer Lopez had been a trailblazer in the industry for decades, yet she had never been fully embraced by it. Ben's stand, however, was a powerful reminder that sometimes it takes an outsider, someone with the platform and privilege to speak up, to challenge the status quo. And in doing so, he had shown that standing up for what's right was more important than fitting in. The shockwaves of that moment were felt not only by the celebrities present, but by viewers around the world. On social media, hashtags began to trend. Stand up for women, respect Jennifer Lopez, and Ben Affleck speaks out. Fans, particularly women and people of color, expressed their gratitude for Ben's bold move, acknowledging that it was more than just a defense of his partner. It was an act of allyship that gave voice to those who had long been marginalized. In a world where the media and entertainment industry often present a distorted and narrow view of success, Ben's intervention was a beacon of hope for those fighting against systemic injustice. It showed that real change could happen when people were willing to stand up for what was right, regardless of the consequences. Back at the ceremony, the atmosphere had changed completely. The crowd, which had once been laughing at Jennifer Lopez's expense, now rallied around her. Her fans cheered, her peers applauded, and even the other nominees seemed to recognize the importance of the moment. It wasn't just about a celebrity feud or a moment of tension. It was about a larger cultural shift. Jennifer Lopez, despite all the mockery and dismissal, had remained a force in the entertainment world for over 20 years. She had built an empire, and while some may have doubted her every step of the way, moments like this reminded everyone that her success wasn't just earned, it was deserved. Ben's actions had proven that sometimes standing up for someone wasn't just about supporting them in their career. It was about protecting their dignity, their worth, and their legacy. The moment Ben stood up and confronted the host, it was more than just a simple defense of Jennifer Lopez. It became a pivotal moment for the entire entertainment industry, one that underscored the need for change in how women, particularly women of color, are treated in the public eye. In Hollywood, the challenges that women face are often compounded by systemic racism, and Jennifer Lopez had been at the forefront of these struggles for years. As a Latina woman, she had been forced to prove herself in a way that her white counterparts were never asked to. For years, her talents and achievements were overshadowed by a focus on her personal life and her appearance. Her relationships, her body, and even her age were often used as points of mockery or dismissal, while her immense contributions to music, acting, and business were sidelined. Ben's interruption at that moment was a declaration that this kind of treatment would no longer be tolerated. It wasn't just about standing up for Jennifer in that instant. It was about calling attention to the fact that this kind of behavior had been normalized for far too long. In that moment, Ben was speaking for every woman in Hollywood, every woman in the entertainment industry, and every person who had ever been judged for reasons outside of their talent and hard work. It was a statement that transcended the celebrity world and reached the broader societal issue of gender and racial inequality. His actions symbolized a turning point, where the status quo no longer went unchallenged. As the night went on, the atmosphere in the Staples Center seemed to shift. The tension that had once filled the room now turned into a sense of unity. People from all walks of life, celebrities, fans, industry professionals, began to reflect on what had just transpired. The gravity of the situation wasn't lost on them. They had witnessed something historic, something that would be remembered long after the night was over. It wasn't just a celebrity drama, it was a public demonstration of accountability. The host, who had initially thought his jokes were harmless, now found himself apologizing on air, visibly uncomfortable under the weight of the realization that he had crossed a line. His apology, however, was too little, too late. The damage had been done, but it also opened the door for a much-needed conversation about the ways in which public figures, particularly women, are treated in the media. For Jennifer Lopez, Ben's act of solidarity wasn't just a moment of support. It was a reaffirmation of her worth in an industry that had long tried to diminish it. Lopez had spent years cultivating her career, building an empire that spanned music, acting, and business. But despite her undeniable success, she had never been fully embraced by the industry in the way that some of her peers had been. The joke at the Grammy Awards was just the latest example of how she was often treated as a punchline rather than a powerhouse. But Ben's actions shifted the narrative. It was as if, for the first time, her value was being recognized in a way that transcended her physical appearance or her age. It was a reminder that her achievements, her hard work, her influence, and her dedication were what truly mattered. As the evening came to a close, the significance of Ben's move was still palpable in the air. The applause from the crowd was deafening, a show of support not just for Jennifer but for every person who had ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or marginalized. It was a sign that the audience, both in the arena and at home, had witnessed something far more important than just a red carpet event. They had seen a shift in how we should view and treat people, particularly women of color, in the entertainment industry. It was a reminder that the stories we tell and the narratives we create should always center on the talents and contributions of individuals, not on their appearance or their personal lives. The Grammy Awards, which had initially felt like a celebration of superficial fame and fortune, had now transformed into something much more meaningful. It was no longer just about the celebrities in the room. It was about the power of standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. For Jennifer Lopez, the night had become a reminder that while the industry might still have its flaws, change was possible. It wasn't just about the jokes, the insults, or the mockery. It was about having allies, people who would stand by you, fight for you, and refuse to let you be defined by anyone else's narrative. And in that moment, Ben Affleck proved that he wasn't just her partner in life, but also her partner in the fight for respect and equality. As the night drew to a close, the spotlight shifted back to the stage where Jennifer Lopez was finally awarded the Grammy she had so rightfully earned. But the win wasn't just about the accolade itself. It was about the journey that had led her here, and the affirmation she received, not just from the award, but from the support of Ben and the audience. The applause that filled the Staples Center wasn't just for her career achievements. It was for the way she had navigated years of public scrutiny, criticism, and unfair judgment. Ben's intervention had turned a moment of discomfort into one of solidarity and empowerment. It was as if the entire room had collectively acknowledged that Jennifer Lopez was more than the jokes, the headlines, and the stereotypes. She was a force to be reckoned with, and no one, not even a Grammy host, could diminish that. For Ben Affleck, the moment was a testament to his commitment not just to his partner, but to a broader sense of justice and respect. In a world where public figures are often forced to hide their true emotions behind a mask of professionalism, Ben's actions showed the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it's uncomfortable. The situation could have easily been brushed off as just another awkward moment at an awards show, but Ben saw it as an opportunity to make a statement about respect, fairness, and the need to address the systemic issues that still plague the entertainment industry. By speaking out, he didn't just defend Jennifer. He called attention to the larger issue of how women, especially women of color, are often treated in the public eye. His bold move had sent a message that actions matter, and sometimes the best way to bring about change is to confront injustice head-on, no matter how difficult it may be. The aftermath of the incident rippled through social media, news outlets, and industry discussions. While many applauded Ben's actions, others questioned whether it had been appropriate to confront the host publicly. But that debate only highlighted the divide in how people viewed the situation. For those who had witnessed the ridicule Jennifer Lopez had faced for years, Ben's intervention felt like a breath of fresh air, an opportunity for the entertainment industry to acknowledge the complexities of gender and racial discrimination. It wasn't just about a personal defense of Jennifer. It was about shifting the cultural narrative that had long relegated women of color to the sidelines. Ben Affleck's actions sparked an important conversation that extended far beyond the Grammy Awards. Jennifer, in her acceptance speech later that evening, acknowledged the significance of the moment. She thanked her fans, her team, and of course Ben for being her constant source of support. But she also took a moment to address the larger issue at hand. She spoke candidly about the challenges she had faced as a Latina woman in the entertainment industry and how far she still had to go to be truly accepted. Her words resonated with so many people who had experienced similar challenges in their own lives, whether in Hollywood or in everyday society. In that moment, Jennifer Lopez became more than just a pop icon. She became a symbol of perseverance, strength, and the fight for equality. The Grammy Awards night, which had started off with mockery and tension, ended on a high note of empowerment and unity. It wasn't just about the glitz and glam of the red carpet, the flashy performances, or the awards handed out. It was about something deeper. It was a reminder that, in the face of adversity, allies can make all the difference. And sometimes, standing up for the right thing is more important than any award or accolade. Jennifer Lopez left the stage that night not just as a Grammy winner, but as a woman who had finally been seen, heard, and respected for who she truly was. And for Ben, it was a reaffirmation that, together, they could face anything, even the most unexpected and uncomfortable challenges.